In this video, we're going to show you to install track bar bushings on your Jeep Grand Cherokee located in your front steering system. On the left side of our track bar on the passenger side, there's a 15mm bolt here that goes through this bracket, through the track bar, and in through here. Now normally the nut on the other side has a little lock tab that comes down through this hole, and it will catch on either side when you go to loosen it, and that nut will come out with that tab. Well, I can't feel mine in there. It may have rusted off, but I don't feel the lock tab in there anywhere. So what we're going to try and do is use our 15mm socket, remove this bolt, and we'll see if that nut is spinning on the inside. Now, if you have the lock tab there, you can go ahead and loosen this, and then that nut will drop out of here with that lock tab. Our nut is still in there. So it feels like this might be a fixed nut, maybe welded from the factory on the backside on our particular model, which is good news, because now we can just remove that bolt. Now this bolt right here on the driver's side of that track bar is held in by an 18mm nut here. Now the bolt itself is a capture bolt that has a locking tab on the other side. So when I loosen this, it should hold itself in place. You can see the tab right here. Now as I loosen this, this tab's going to come around and catch on the other side, and it'll hold itself while I remove the nut. Remove the nut. And what I'll do is I'll grab my hammer here and just kind of tap this out. I'm going to go to the other end, and I'm going to use a pry bar to break that free. With that passenger side out, I should be able to pull that driver's side bolt out pretty easy. Now our bolt is hitting our bump stop right here for our axle. So what we're going to do is take our track bar and swing this down. And that's allowing the angle of the bolt to come down a bit. And I'm going to use my pry bar and my mallet and see if I can bump that a little bit. Try and get that to come out. And we got our bolt out. Bring our track bar back over. Pull that out. Now on the end here, our bushing has a flared side on one side, and the other side will actually pull through. So we're going to choose to use an air chisel. We're going to come behind here and try and break this free, and then work this bushing out of the track bar itself. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing this job. What we're doing is we're compressing the bushing itself down so we can just pop that out of the track bar. Now with the other bushing pressed out, I want to take our new bushing. Go ahead and work this in. Just like so. And tap in the other side. Now I want to work our sleeve into this. Now that we have this side completed, we're going to repeat that process for the other side. Line up the track bar. Get your bolt started on the back side. Push that in. We're going to release our pry bar. We're going to install that nut. Let's go ahead and get the bolt installed on the other side. Okay, bring this up in a position. I have to give that a couple taps. Our track bar hole is not lining up with the axle, so we just want to go ahead and see if we can put our pry tool in here and just kind of pull that over. So what's happening here is our track bar, what the track bar does is it aligns our front axle under the front of the vehicle. When we pull this out, the front end shifted just a tiny bit. So what we can do is we could anchor a strap to the lower portion of our front suspension and diagonal over to the frame and pull the front end over to go ahead and get that to line up. So I have our securing strap to our axle tube over here, and it goes across diagonal to a hole in the frame, a factory frame hole. And if we tighten this, what's happening is I'm pulling that axle over to the driver's side, and boom, there we have it. That hole is lined up absolutely perfect. This fits right in. It fits in there. Now we're just going to tweak this a little bit so we can get that bolt started. Now to go ahead and get that bolt seated into the nut on the back side, I just put my socket on there. Just tap that in, you'll feel it bottom out. We should be able to grab our ratchet. I want to make sure I can get that started a few threads before I put a power tool to it. I'm going to hook up my air tool here, and I'm not going to tighten it down. I just want to run that bolt in. Our next step is we want to release our securing strap. And we're now going to jack up our front suspension. At this point here, you have two options. Put your wheels on, which we chose to pull our wheels off here to do this job. You do not have to pull the wheels off to do this job in your driveway if that's what you're doing. So at this point here, if your vehicle is down on the ground and you're working on it, you can go ahead and torque these into position. What you want to do is make sure that the vehicle's weight is on the suspension, compressing our suspension to a neutral ride height. Now, if you have it jacked up, you want to go ahead and put the jack underneath the axle. Vehicles are on jack stands. Put the jack underneath the axle with a differential here and compress your suspension to its neutral ride height. Then we'll go ahead and torque these bolts. In our case here, we're going to raise our vehicle till it just lightens up on the front pads on our lift. On your vehicle, if you have the vehicle on jack stands, you're going to raise it up just until it lightens up on the jack stands. Now let's torque down our bolts to 74 foot-pounds. We're going to lower our jack. Now, if you're at this stage here where you just torque this and your vehicle is jacked up, go ahead and put your wheels on. If you have them off, you can go ahead and remove your jack stands and then lower your jack down. Once you've completed this job here, you do want to bring the vehicle down and get an alignment performed.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.